All right, this is going to be a bit of an unusual video. We're going to talk about paratroopers, and I know you love the community, absolutely adores paratroopers. So I thought what I'd do is try and explain the flaws of paratroopers and kind of why they don't work the way you should, and kind of how you can bug test and make paratroopers work better. And maybe Paradox can learn from this when they eventually rework paratroopers to where maybe the tooltips are a little bit more clearer, so paratroopers will work more effectively. And maybe I'll show you the meta of paratrooping as well, so maybe you have a better paratrooping experience. All right, let's talk about the basics then. Paratroopers are special forces, okay? And you need to research that specific special force, which in this case is paratroopers, the very level 1. Be aware that special forces have a cap. You're limited to how many you can produce of them. And also, special forces have a higher organization, higher division recovery rate, but less HP. And what that means is when you take damage in combat, they take more damage to manpower and they take more damage to equipment. And the idea behind it is they're kind of hard to replace because they are the best of the best of your special troops, but you benefit with more org and recovery of org with these divisions. And the later versions also give you more soft attack and further organization as well. And there's some benefits down here as well that no one ever goes for, because once again, I don't understand why someone put so much research time into something like this. I guess maybe if you wanted to make the most and push your special forces all the way. All right, so step 1, research the very first paratroopers. Paratroopers are limited to how much you can research of them. And if you want a short explanation for that, I believe it's under army. Here we go. And if you look closely, you can see total divisions 30, total battalions 315, and that gives you the maximum amount of special forces that you can use. Battalions, not divisions, battalions of 24. There's a minimum amount of 5%. And then you can go higher based on your overall size of your army, but based upon battalions, not divisions. So you can't exploit it. There are exploits, but we'll talk about that later anyway. So in this case, I would train a bunch of paratroopers. The maximum I can train simultaneously at the same time is 6 because it reaches our special forces limit. Be aware as well, special forces do take longer to train as well. So keep into account that if you exercise them, you will lose more equipment. And also if you train them in the recruit and train menu, they will take longer before you can deploy them as well as fully train 100%. So you kind of want to train these in ahead of time. All right, deploy the boyos, and there we go. We have paratroopers, and paratroopers have the special ability to do this button. Can you see this? The paratrooper order. Oh. You need transport planes. So let's move those transport planes to a said airport. We'll go for this one here. So first thing you need to do is move the paratroopers to where they are needed. I think if you assign them the order, they'll automatically move. Let's just double check that. So if we click paratrooper order and then select where the transport planes are, and then right click where I want the troops to be paradropped, I believe it says 6 paratroopers have been assigned. Yeah. We press escape. Surprisingly, when you hit escape, it asks you if you want to delete the paradrop order, but we're going to say no. It's strange because when you click on the button, you get locked into the menu and you have to back out of it and go back into it. It's kind of one of the very small bugs with paratroopers that I've never quite understood. If there's a gap in my knowledge here, by the way, let me know in the comments below, because this is always the way I've done paratroopers and they've just never worked the way I thought they would. They're always kind of quirky and weird. Anyway, will they move automatically? They will. They will. So you don't need to move them to where they need to be. You just need to make sure you put the transport planes in the right location. And then at that point, you activate the plan. And it tells you a breakdown of the chance of the order and the success of it. And right now, nothing is actually happening. Now, this is one of the reasons why paratroopers are a pain in the damn ass. They don't give you the breakdown of the tooltip, why this can't be executed. Now, there's probably 2 explanations why this isn't happening. One, we've either not got enough transport planes, or the transport planes are currently doing a mission, which in this case, they could be air supplying. If they're doing air supply and they're not unassigned onto no missions, they can't paradrop. That's an issue. And then thirdly, if you've not got more than, I think it's 70% air superiority, you can't do a paradrop. Which of the 3 is it not working? I don't know. The game doesn't tell you. It doesn't give you a tooltip. I have no idea. Which is, once again, is one of the issues with paratroopers that Paradox need to look at it and probably just give a little bit of better tooltip to explain what's actually happening here. So let's go through the troubleshooting then. Troubleshoot the paratroopers. So we'll put an air superiority on here, air superiority on here, and then air superiority on here. Because we're not contested, we're not at war or anyone, that'll give us full air superiority. Now we're going to resume the game, and nothing is happening. So it wasn't air superiority that's the issue, because we now have full air superiority in all the air zones they pass through. You can see the arrow here, it passes to the eastern Germany, northern west Germany, and also western Germany. Surprising that the most south part of Germany is west. Figure that one out, eh? Figure that one out. So let's try something a little bit different. Let's half this and click the unassigned divisions and move them to the right. So what this is potentially doing is eliminating the possibility there's just not enough transport planes. And there's a chance there might not be enough. I think it's 50 transport transport planes can drop 1 battalion of paratrooper. And in this case, each paratrooper consists of 3 battalions. So I don't even think we've probably got enough. Let's just try do 1 and see if it paradrops. Now, once again, you guys are probably screaming in the comments right now, I'm doing something wrong. And I'll admit, I don't use paratroopers very often, hence the reason why there's a gap in my knowledge. But remember, the problem here isn't my lack of knowledge of paratroopers. The biggest problem is Paradox not adding a tooltip here to fully explain what is actually happening. With naval invasions, it's great. It gives you a full breakdown of why a naval invasion cannot work. I'll admit, sometimes it's a bit flaky. Sometimes you need to say something like you need to be at war, but it doesn't say that. But for the most part, it gives you a full breakdown. Look, he says there's insufficient convoys or you don't have full naval supremacy. It tells me the full breakdown of why this can't be executed. But the paratrooper part just does not. And are we ever going to get the paradrop? No. So I'm probably going to take a guess right now. It's a lack of transport planes. So let's see if we can fix that one then. So transport planes. We'll drop another air wing of transport planes into this location. We're in position once again. And once again, the paradrop is not happening. Let's try and reassign it once again, because usually it's a good strategy to try and make a new one. So once again, I'm going to select 1 battalion and do a paradrop. Now we can't even select the location of the paratroopers. It does actually give a breakdown here. This is not a valid province for a paratrooper drop. The province needs to have at least 50 transport planes. We do actually have transport planes here. You're probably thinking, Dave, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's so stupid. But the problem is the game does not give me enough information to let me know what I'm doing wrong. Once again, this system has always been buggy. And this is probably the reason why I've always chose not to take advantage of these mechanics. Because from my honest opinion, I felt they've never really worked the way they should. Try again. For some reason, the game's completely bugged and it can't see the transport planes here. I know you guys love national focus trees. You're always banging on about focus trees, next rework and whatnot. And I respect you guys for that because I love content too. But if there's one thing the community should be asking for, it's for a special forces rework. Because once again, as you're seeing right now, living proof of it, the guy who's got 5k hours in the game doesn't really understand how paratroopers work. And what can you say about that, really? I mean, it just shows the game it needs a rework on that specific area. Let's reload a save game and see if that'll fix it. So we reloaded the save game now. Now we can actually do a paradrop. It's actually showing that there's transport planes here. We can do a paradrop. So let's paradrop to a nearby location. That shouldn't be much of a problem. We'll activate the battle plan. And you see this one division is moving over now. And as soon as he arrives... nothing. Yeah, nothing. Maybe we need some air superiority in the coastal region. Maybe we're passing through a coastal region. No. Maybe we're putting some more planes in said location to get more air superiority. I love that massive shadow. Look at the shadow there. We have 1 paratrooper assigned. This might be based on old knowledge, but I'm almost 99% certain in the past when I've done paratroopers whilst at peace, you were able to do it. A long time ago, I would set up my paratroopers to paradrop into different locations around Indonesia, and I did that whilst at peace. So I do remember back in the day it did be possible, but maybe they've introduced a rule where you're not allowed to do it while we're at peace. But of course, we're trying every avenue here to try and find out the possibilities and fully understand how paratroopers work. But once again, the game should tell me right now, the reason why you can't paradrop is because you're not at war. But once again, the game just seemed very reluctant to tell me that. It does actually specifically say I'm not actually getting air superiority in these regions, probably because you can only project air superiority whilst at war. But once again, in the past, it did actually work. It did work in the past. But at the moment, it appears not to be working. All right, let's declare war on someone incredibly random. And that incredibly random nation we're going to declare war on is going to be Oman. Now, Germany's at war again. And there you go. There we go. The paradrop was successful that time around. So that looks like it's a new rule. It has changed from when I used to use paratroopers a long time ago. You do 100% need to be at war. Okay, let's go through some other scenarios as well. So assign all 6 of the paratroopers and let's drop them off and see how it goes. Are we going to drop them now? So once again, we've assigned the paratroopers, but they're not being dropped off. Doesn't really give a clear explanation on why. So I'm going to go with the next conclusion is there's just not enough transport planes. And there you go. That was the explanation. You know what's actually surprising, though? This airbase is overfilled and they're getting a massive penalty to mission efficiency, but they still did the paradrop. Interesting. Here's the question. If we massively overfill this airbase, so they're getting 0% mission efficiency, will the paradrop still happen? Okay. Well, that actually is kind of nice to see. It doesn't work. You need some kind of missions efficiency for it to work. Well, I guess it's anything above 0%, I suppose. Yeah, it's anything above 0%. It's kind of nice. That's the thing, because it shows that the devs have actually thought about that. Because in my mind, I was thinking to myself, maybe that won't actually work. Maybe not. Let's try something else. Take advantage of air supply. So if they're on an air supply mission and we have a paradrop mission, will they still paradrop? No. Okay, that's exactly how I thought it would work. So if they're currently doing a different mission, which in this case is air supply, the paradrop will not start. When we click air supply again, the paradrop does complete. Awesome. I will say one thing though, guys. It's really disappointing that you can't paradrop whilst at peace. Because wouldn't it be super cool to paradrop troops into East Prussia or back and forth? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? It's kind of strange that they removed that feature from the game. There must have been some fundamental change to the way the game mechanics work and the reason why that happens. Paratroopers. For the most part, if you want the best possible combat width, my advice for you is to take advantage of a 10 width paratrooper. That's probably the best one to go with. And right now it's saying to me that I can't, unfortunately, take advantage of this because I'm going over the paratrooper limit. Makes sense, I suppose. So if you try and put that in there, it says you can't do it. You're over the paratrooper special forces limit. You know what's surprising? What's just happened here is we paradropped, but we lost 30% of our strength. And I wonder what the explanation is. Is it because we're passing through neutral territory and that's why we've lost a portion of our paratroopers? I don't mind this happening. If this is working as intended, that's great. It just would be really nice if the tooltip gave you that information. It would be so awesome if the tooltip told me that. If it told me that, that'd be so cool. But it doesn't. So here's a little bit of a old exploit. And as far as I'm aware, this does still work. What you've got to do, change the paratroopers to something else, like a horse. Select the horses and say you want to change the paratroopers. Keep the box open and then make the division template that you want. In this case, we'll go for support stuffs. Be aware, you can only paradrop stuff that's got this paradrop icon. They recently made it you can't paradrop heavy flame tanks, but you can paradrop everything else. We hit save and then we change. Yeah, that's been patched. They patched that. Okay, that used to be the old method. The old method. It looks like the dialogue box when it's on screen doesn't work anymore when you've closed the menu. I think the ultimate paratrooper division is probably the one you could do the most actual damage with. There's kind of two strats really. There's this kind of paratrooper, something like this. At the end of the day, you're kind of landing, then you're capturing certain points like victory points, as well as supply depots and snipping railway lines. That's kind of like your plan as a paratrooper. And I suppose anything that gives you more firepower and denies air is useful. And also engineers are good for the defensive and digging into position when you actually land. There's also another strategy where when you land, you change your division to something else. But that's a lot more difficult to do now because you need access to supply. So you'll need to capture a port first, which obviously can be quite difficult if you're in enemy territory. Of course, we're all aware of the classic German strategy to knock out France as easily as possible by taking, let's say, Paris, for instance, which is always a viable strat. But in that case, you just want to go for the single battalion of paratrooper. There's really not much point going for anything other than that. At the end of the day, your only purpose with these paratroopers is not to hold land and secure territory. It's just to spam them all over the map. However, there is a problem with that as well, because once again, I think the UI for paratroopers is just a bit wonky. So I'll give you an example. So this is what we want to do. We want to do a paradrop with multiple paratrooper divisions. So this is where I feel like the UI just gets a little bit weird and a little bit overly clicky. Hence the reason why in the past I've asked for a shortcut key for paratroopers, but that's never been done. And maybe they'll never do it. Who knows? So you click paratrooper and you single click on the location you want the paradrop to be. Then you right click on where you want it to land. In this case, Amsterdam. Now, I always get confused from this point because, like, if I want to do multiple paradrops, what's the right thing to do? Do I press escape to back out of this? Or do I select something else to deselect it? You know? What's the correct thing to do? 'Cause there's no easy way of assigning multiple paradrop orders. It's very fiddly and finicky. Someone in the chat just said you select enter. I guess so. Enter or escape does the same thing. Honestly, guys, I think we've been gaslit into believing this is a good system. But the honest truth is this is absolutely awful. Because there should be a hotkey to basically assign them one by one. But we have to hit either escape or enter key to back out of the menu, to select the mission again, to do it once again. Then we have to manually click each individual paratrooper to assign them individually to each individual mission. And To be fair, the UI for this is, once again, a little bit fiddly, and it's just not very user-friendly. We declare war on the Netherlands, and then we activate the battle plan. Will it execute? And there we go. It deployed them all instantly. I suppose this is a living example, actually, of where it worked, for the most part, fairly effectively. Because now the plan should be now to grab the victory points and also to grab the supply depots. Now, I feel like this is a bit of a reach. This is where I'm kind of praying to the Paradox gods and asking them for something that I don't think will be done, because I think it'll be too OP. Would it be really cool if you could assign paratroopers to your generals as like a mission, and then when you activate the battle plan, it automatically assigns them with a paradrop and they automatically go? Okay, that is a bit of a reach, isn't it? I'm asking for basically something that's, one, brutally OP, and two, is so automated you wouldn't even be playing the game anymore. I'll tell you one thing though, if the AI ever did this, man, the AI would be so strong. That's a really good point. The AI never paradrops, does it? So maybe there could be a cool way that you could automate paratroopers by assigning them onto generals a bit like the AI would, so that the AI would actually take advantage of paratroopers. That would be so freaking cool. How awesome would it be as the Netherlands to get paradropped on by Germany? That would be so cool and so OP, but so cool. I think what we can summarize with this is the UI for paratroopers and special forces is lacking. It needs to tell us more information to let us know where we're going wrong. And then secondly, special forces need tweaks to make them a little bit more user-friendly and the UI a little bit more functional. And we can just start from the very top and just say, can we have a hotkey for paratroopers, please? And can we assign all the orders one by one in a row, not having to keep backing out the menu by pressing enter or escape to reselect the area we want to paradrop? Like, this method is so unbelievably click intensive. It's just not a really effective way of doing it. I feel like now I know this, I'm going to do it a little bit quicker, but for the most part, this isn't a functional UI. It's kind of like the equivalent in Windows having to manually copy and paste each individual file one by one and not being able to select all. Anyway, that's my little take on paratroopers. For the most part, I've learned some things, and maybe you've learned some things, but overall, man, we need to paradrop. Why don't you paratroop yourself into becoming a subscriber and hitting that subscribe button? Drop right in and join the family. Have a good day, boys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.